Hello folks, welcome to Reliable Prepper, your trusted source for all things preparedness and survival. In a world where the food supply is becoming increasingly unpredictable, it's more important than ever to stay vigilant and prepared. From the alarming rise in chicken and egg prices to the mass culling of birds and suspicious farm fires, we need to question what's really going on. So, buckle up and let's get started. There's been a drastic increase in bird flu cases, leading to mass culling of poultry across the globe. Picture this, since 2022, over 92 million birds have been culled. That's an unimaginable amount of chickens and turkeys removed from our food supply. And it's not just the culling that's concerning. We're also seeing a suspicious rise in farm fires, with the most recent incident in Marion County, where a staggering 1.3 million chickens perished. And it's not just Marion County. Over 4 million birds were culled in Iowa alone due to an outbreak of highly pathogenic bird flu. This isn't just a local problem. It's a global crisis affecting our food supply and economy. And with all this chaos, there's a new player on the scene: lab-created chicken. Yes, you heard that right. Lab-created chicken is being pushed as a solution alongside the promotion of poultry vaccines. It's enough to make you wonder if there's a larger agenda at play to control food production. But let's not jump to conclusions. Let's look at the facts: the bird flu outbreaks, the mass culling, the farm fires, and now a push for lab-created chicken and poultry vaccines. It's a chain of events that's causing a significant disruption in the poultry industry. And who bears the brunt of this disruption? We do, the consumers. Our grocery bills are skyrocketing and our access to poultry is declining. So what does this mean for us? Well, it's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that we need to be vigilant, informed, and prepared. Because at the end of the day, our food supply is too important to be left in the hands of a few. And that's why we're here: to question, to learn, and to take back control. This rise in incidents has caused a significant disruption in the poultry industry. Let's examine the historical context of bird flu outbreaks and their impact on food prices and availability. Bird flu, or avian influenza, isn't a newcomer to the scene. Since the late 20th century, we've seen several significant outbreaks, each bringing its own set of challenges and economic impacts. For instance, back in 2003, the H5N1 strain of bird flu led to the culling of millions of birds across Asia, Europe, and Africa. This resulted in a substantial increase in poultry prices and a significant hit to the economies of affected countries. Fast forward to 2015, and we see a repeat performance in the United States. The H5N2 strain resulted in the culling of nearly 50 million birds, primarily in Iowa and Minnesota. This led to a noticeable spike in the prices of chicken and eggs, a trend that took months to stabilize. Now, if you look at the pattern, every outbreak has been followed by a sharp rise in poultry prices. And it's not just about supply and demand. Each time there's been a rush to develop and distribute poultry vaccines, and a push towards lab-created alternatives. These responses, while seemingly logical, have often led to further consolidation of the poultry industry, raising questions about who truly benefits in the end. In the case of egg prices, the trend is even more pronounced. Historically, egg prices have been relatively stable, but each bird flu outbreak results in a significant price hike. For instance, following the 2015 outbreak, the average price of a dozen eggs in the US jumped by about 50%. And let's not forget the timing of these outbreaks. They often occur just when demand for poultry and eggs is peaking, such as around holiday seasons. This timing exacerbates the price increases and the impact on consumers. So what can we glean from this historical context? It's clear that bird flu outbreaks have a significant impact on poultry and egg prices. But more than that, they often lead to changes in the industry that favor large producers and can potentially manipulate the food supply. These past outbreaks provide valuable insights into the current situation. The economic impact of this outbreak is far-reaching, affecting households and the food industry alike. A rise in chicken and egg prices puts a strain on our pockets. The cost of a staple food item increases, and families have to reconsider their budgets and meal plans. The impact on the food industry is also significant. Restaurants, especially fast food chains that rely heavily on poultry, have to grapple with the decision of whether to absorb these higher costs or pass them on to the consumers, potentially risking their customer base. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The poultry industry is a complex network of breeders, hatcheries, farmers, processors, and retailers. A disruption at any point in this supply chain can have a ripple effect. For instance, a bird flu outbreak at a breeder farm can lead to a shortage of chicks at hatcheries, which in turn affects the supply of chickens for farmers, and so on down the line. Now, why should we care about these supply chain vulnerabilities? Well, they present opportunities for manipulation. If someone controls a critical point in the supply chain, they can influence supply and demand, and therefore, prices. This could be a corporation with a monopoly over hatcheries or a government entity imposing regulations that favor certain players in the industry. Moreover, these vulnerabilities also expose us to risks in times of crisis. A pandemic, a natural disaster, or a cyber attack on a major poultry processor could disrupt the supply chain and lead to shortages and price hikes. While we can't predict or prevent these events, we can understand and prepare for their potential impacts. To put it simply, knowledge is power. By understanding the complexities and vulnerabilities of the poultry supply chain, we can make informed decisions. Whether it's choosing to support smaller local farms that contribute to a more resilient food system, or deciding to raise our own chickens to have more control over our food supply, understanding these vulnerabilities can help us prepare for potential disruptions. Now let's explore some practical alternatives and solutions to mitigate the impact of this outbreak. The first step to regaining control over our food supply is to consider raising our own chickens. Backyard poultry is an excellent alternative, and it's not as complicated as it may sound. With a little bit of effort, you can have a flock of hens laying fresh eggs right in your backyard. And not only does this provide a reliable source of food, but it also allows you to know exactly where your food is coming from, free from the influences of industry manipulation. Getting started with backyard poultry requires some basic knowledge and preparation. You'll need a safe, secure coop to house your chickens, and a supply of chicken feed, which can be easily purchased from local farm supply stores. It's also important to consider the breed of chicken you choose, as some are more resistant to disease than others. A little bit of research can go a long way in ensuring the success of your backyard flock. Now, while backyard chickens can be a great solution, they're not the only alternative. We can also diversify our meat consumption. Other meats like turkey, duck, or rabbit can serve as excellent alternatives to chicken. These options not only diversify our food sources, but also help us become less dependent on a single type of meat. Remember, the key to food security is diversity and self-reliance. By raising our own chickens and diversifying our meat consumption, we can adapt to changes in the food supply chain and ensure our food security. In addition, supporting local farmers and butchers can also help strengthen our local food systems. Buying from them not only supports our local economy, but it also gives us direct access to high-quality, locally raised meats. In conclusion, while the bird flu outbreak and the subsequent rise in chicken and egg prices may seem alarming, it's important to remember that we are not powerless. By considering alternatives like backyard poultry, diversifying our meat consumption, and supporting local farmers, we can take back control of our food supply. These strategies can help us regain control over our food supply. Government policies and industry practices play a significant role in shaping the poultry industry. In the grand scheme of things, the poultry industry is subject to a complex web of government regulations and subsidies. For instance, subsidies are often provided to major poultry producers to offset the costs of feed, equipment, and other operational expenses. These subsidies, while ostensibly aimed at maintaining affordable prices for consumers, have also been criticized for perpetuating an unsustainable industrial model of food production. On the regulatory side, there's a labyrinth of rules governing everything from animal welfare to biosecurity measures. While these regulations are essential for maintaining public health and ensuring humane treatment of livestock, they can also inadvertently create barriers for small-scale farmers trying to break into the industry. That's where the role of major poultry producers comes into play. Dominant players in the industry have the resources and influence to navigate these regulatory landscapes, often at the expense of smaller competitors. Their control over supply chains can lead to significant price manipulation, essentially deciding how much consumers pay for their chicken and eggs. Here's an interesting nugget to chew on. Did you know that just a handful of companies control the majority of the poultry market in the United States? This concentration of power raises questions about potential collusion and manipulation within the industry. For instance, if these major producers decided to cull their flocks under the guise of a disease outbreak, They could create artificial shortages, driving up prices and padding their bottom lines. Meanwhile, consumers and small farmers would bear the brunt of these actions. Moreover, the push towards lab-created chicken and poultry vaccines, while potentially beneficial in addressing animal welfare and disease issues, could also be seen as another way for big industry to maintain control over food production. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, it's crucial to understand that the poultry industry is not just about chickens and eggs. It's a complex system influenced by government policies and major industry players. Being aware of these influences can help us make informed decisions about our food sources. Preparedness is key when facing potential food supply disruptions. In a world where the poultry situation is in flux, we need to be ready, and part of that readiness involves stockpiling chicken and eggs. When stockpiling, consider the shelf life of your food. Fresh eggs can last up to 5 weeks in the fridge, but if you're looking at a long-term stockpile, consider powdered eggs, which can last up to 10 years if stored properly. For chicken, consider canned chicken, which can last for up to 2 to 5 years, or freeze-dried chicken that can last up to 15 years unopened. Now let's talk about community-supported agriculture programs. These programs are a fantastic way to build resilient and independent food networks. They allow you to support local farmers directly, and in return, you receive a box of fresh, locally grown produce. This not only supports your community, but also provides you with a reliable source of food that isn't dependent on the larger supply chain. But what if you want to take it a step further? Well, you can. Consider starting a local co-op. This involves a group of people coming together to buy food in bulk, directly from suppliers, which can often lead to cost savings and increased food security. Preserving food is another essential aspect of preparedness. Canning chicken can extend its shelf life to between 2 and 5 years. Dehydrating chicken is another option, which can last 6 months to a year. For eggs, you can pickle them. They'll last for several months and can add a unique flavor to your meals. Remember, diversification is also crucial. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. Having a variety of food items in your stockpile can provide nutritional diversity and protect against potential supply disruptions in one particular area. With these tips, we can be prepared for any disruptions in the poultry supply. Remember, the key is not to panic, but to prepare. And with the right strategies, we can ensure that we're ready for whatever comes our way. Maintaining a balanced diet is crucial, especially when our usual food sources are disrupted. It may seem daunting to imagine a diet without the staple proteins of chicken and eggs, but it's entirely possible, and in many cases, can lead to discovering a variety of nutritious alternatives. Let's start with proteins. There are numerous sources out there that are often overlooked. Lentils, beans, tofu, and a variety of fish can offer substantial amounts of protein. Don't forget about nuts and seeds. They're packed with protein and healthy fats. As for vitamins and minerals, fruits and vegetables are your best friends. Dark leafy greens like spinach and kale are rich in iron, calcium, and vitamins A, C, and K. Citrus fruits, strawberries, and bell peppers are excellent sources of vitamin C. Now, preserving your chicken and eggs for future use is a smart move. Canning chicken allows you to store it for up to 3 years. Make sure to follow safe canning practices to prevent any health risks. For eggs, consider pickling or freezing. Pickled eggs can last for several months in the refrigerator. If you choose to freeze them, beat the eggs together first, then pour them into an ice cube tray. Once frozen, transfer the cubes to a freezer bag. They'll be good for up to a year. With proper planning, we can maintain a healthy diet even in the face of potential shortages. We've covered a lot of ground today, folks. We've talked about the alarming bird flu outbreak and the culling of over 92 million birds since 2022. We've touched upon the suspicious farm fires and the impact these incidents are having on the poultry industry and the prices of chicken and eggs. We've looked at the historical context, the patterns, and the unusual spikes in prices, and we've questioned the motives behind the responses to these outbreaks. We've also delved into the economic impact of rising poultry prices, the vulnerabilities in the supply chain, and the potential benefits of alternatives like backyard poultry or other meats. We've examined the role of government policies and major poultry producers, and we've offered practical tips on stockpiling and food preservation. Remember, stay informed, question the official narratives, and always be prepared. Until next time, folks.